is the Elevated Look Show, hosted by Mark Stampfly.
Well, welcome to the Elevated Look Show, where our tagline is entertainment marketing and everything in between. Really happy to have Shelby Archer, world touring, internationally renowned musician of New Beat Fund, toured with Blink-182, and now is producing a lot of music, new artists under the label The Fund. So really excited to have you here. Thank you for coming on the show, really. I mean, it's
Thank you for having me, Mark.
pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
What's going on in Shelby Archer's world? What are you excited about?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, first off.
Yeah, of course, man.
I'm excited to be here. I love talking about this because it's my life, you know? I'm in a kind of like a trio production group. We write and produce and record for a lot of people. That's what's happening kind of these days. Now, my partners and I, there's 3 of us total, we've been playing music together in bands for about 17 years.
Wow.
So it's been a long road from when we were in like high school bands to our first label deal, then to our next label deal, and touring.
That's amazing.
Touring for like 5 years, like, you know, all around and opening.
It's good that you guys all like stuck together. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'm sure like we all throughout our lives, we lose some, gain some friends. That happens. But it's cool that you guys at least all stood together and.
Yeah, we've lasted more than a lot of marriages.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know.
True.
They're brothers, so
okay.
You know, it's
like family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the brother from another mother,
okay.
and I'm like, yeah. It's a really great chemistry. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and at this point, we know our strengths and weaknesses. Like we don't even have to communicate them.
Okay.
You know.
What are those? So like when.
Well, okay, so let me kind of start early on.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. You want to talk about like how you got started? How Shelby Archer got started in the music world?
You know, I started playing music when I was in like 5th grade. I wanted to like play guitar, and you know, so like children do, you kind of like follow a passion, you know, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I liked to play guitar. So I started to play guitar, you know, junior high, high school, you know, you kind of start bands, and you know, so I started playing in bands. When I was in high school, I worked at this barbecue place in Santa Clarita, which is where we're from.
Yeah. What place? Is it
Stonefire Grill.
Stonefire Grill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know
yeah.
Stonefire.
So this was the first one. It was really small.
That was the first one.
That's the first one.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I normally go to the one in Porter Ranch.
Right.
And get that, you know, the tri-tip is my jam.
Stonefire Grill is excellent. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
So you're still a fan even after you work there? Because sometimes when you work there, you're like, sick of the food.
But Stonefire,
they're just too good.
They're amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jeff and I were 17-year-olds, you know, packing takeout, just Saturday night, super busy. We were obviously the best takeout packers.
Okay.
You know.
What makes a good takeout packer?
I mean, you get it done, you know. And it was just us two. They didn't need anyone. No one had to micromanage. They just like put us
they knew
back
you were gonna just like put the
in
pedal
this
to the metal.
hole. This is back when there was just 2 takeout packers. It was like early on. You know? So now they have like a whole, the team is huge. If you go and watch the whole thing. But
I got takeout, I think on, I don't know if it was a holiday, like a Mother's Day.
Oh, that's the busiest day of the year.
It was probably like 15 people in the takeout set. I don't know if they were all part of the takeout team, but it was like bang. Yeah. I mean, it was a whole show, man.
It's a whole thing now. But you know, this was a bit ago. So, you know, this is, you know, about I'm gonna be 35, so this is about, you know, however many years ago. But
like 18, because you said 17, right?
17.
So like about 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Was that your first job?
No. I've had lots of jobs. I started working when I was 15 years old.
Oh wow, good for you.
Yeah, but anyway, so Jeff and I would pack takeout. He played guitar. I played guitar. And we...
While you're doing takeout?
Yeah, we would just chat.
Oh, wow.
You know? You like talk shit.
Nice.
You're like, two young dudes just like having to work a job,
Sure,
like
yeah.
you're just hanging and whatever. So, yeah, we talked about gear and all this stuff. And then one day he's like, hey, do you want to try out for my band? And I was like, sure, sounds good, So I tried out, I got it.
Okay.
I got in.
So he already had a band?
He had a band.
Did you know about it? Because like if you guys were close, like buds.
I kind of knew about it, but I didn't really. And I had a band too before, So, we talked about it because we had mutual friends and stuff. Anyways, he. So, but I tried out for his band. I don't think I had a band at the time, and he was starting a band, and I was the last one to join that band.
Okay.
It was called A Weekend Flight. This is, early 2000s. It was like kind of like the emo.
Okay.
Like during the emo
Really?
music time.
Were you an emo kid?
I was not. No.
Okay, because I want to say you don't seem like you have an emo vibe.
And Jeff really wasn't either. And then the band was called A Weekend Flight, and we weren't really that emo. Our singer was kind of emo, and we were kind of like, we were into like Radiohead and like Coldplay, but then it was during this time, like it was a weird time. So we were kind of a little more songy and alternative, but like still in the scene of emo. Like that was the time period. A Weekend Flight, we did a few EPs, played a bunch of shows around like the local scene, and eventually our singer and drummer kind of peeled off and they went away, and Jeff Paul and I decided to start another band.
Okay.
So we auditioned singers and drummers. We got a singer. Eventually we found the singer. His name is Kelly Blatz. And we got a drummer. His name is Matt Thompson. And he's actually the son of Mark Thompson of Mark and Brian, like KLOS 95.5. Like
interesting.
Mark and Brian's like a legendary radio talk show.
Yeah, interesting.
So it was like, that was kind of Capra.
And Kelly was like a Disney star, right?
At that time, he had just started acting. He was dating Blake Lively.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they went to they were like high school sweethearts. And,
oh, really? That's funny.
And so we were kind of like we were kind of hanging with that scene a little bit in that time. And
they were just all like just starting their careers, right?
She had just she did Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, I think, and like whatever. She was getting into Gossip Girl. She had done some things, and then Kelly started acting too around that same time. And so he started music and acting at the exact same time, pretty much. And so we were doing our thing, and he was doing auditions and doing all that. And we made a EP and then like a kind of like a record, and then we were playing a bunch in LA, and then
just jumping back just real quick to like when you guys, because you guys were young back then and you guys are auditioning musicians, how does that whole process play out? Like can you easily kind of like you had your kind of taste develop, like, okay, we know we want this kind of person, or we want the look, we want the performance, we want the actual like quality of the voice, like how did you guys go about that? Like, because you guys were young kids.
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, okay, for example, in A Weekend Flight, our singer, we would play a bunch of shows, and everyone was always like, oh, man, the songs are good, but, like, we don't really like your singer. Like, he wasn't, like, he was, like, fine, but it just, whatever was happening, I think Jeff Paul and I wanted to find a certain thing. This was also during like Maroon 5, Songs About Jane. That record had come out, and it was like or whatever. Like, we had bands that we looked up to that we wanted to sound like or whatever.
Gotcha.
So
you had some like inspiration that you were kind of going towards.
Exactly. So when us three, Jeff Paul and I, were like trying to figure out what are we gonna do, you got to find someone who's good. You got to find someone who wants to do it.
Yeah, commitment's huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Personally, if they match. But, when you're younger, you don't really, we're just like trying to figure it out. So we would audition a few people, and like, it'd be like, cool, you want to do it? All right, great. I guess we're in a band now. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I think it was a little more naive back then. Now I could say a bunch of things, I'm sure. But anyway, so you know, we had this unit. We were kind of making records with like local producers and, you know, playing out and stuff. And then eventually Matt, our drummer, he wanted to go to Berklee School of Music. So he left the band.
Did he give you a heads up? Or was
Yeah, it was totally cool. We're
totally
still
cool.
friends with Matt. He's a great dude. And an amazing drummer. He's like he's a beast. I mean, he was back then too, but he's,
Is he still playing drums professionally?
I think he's a drum teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
he teaches drums and he has like a bunch of students.
Awesome.
And, yeah.
Interesting.
And he actually is having a baby. New, like him and he's married now.
Different path.
Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of. But you know, Matt left, and then Kelly was kind of he had done a movie with this actress Brittany Snow.
Oh yeah. And she was kind of one of those like kind of teeny bopper stars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she did. Yeah. What she
did some movies too.
Yeah. She's fantastic. But at that time, she had done a few Hairspray or what. Like I don't
just kind of starting off like in the commercial world, and then.
Well, she actually had been acting since she was a child.
Oh wow.
She's like a child actor, I think.
Okay. Like Are her parents in actors and actresses?
No. Okay. But she did soap operas when she was really young, and so she had been in it.
Okay.
But at the time, she was dating this guy, Michael Johnson. And Kelly was kind of hanging out with him, and he was like, he had been in some bigger bands and done a lot of things already. He had like a whole previous life.
Okay.
He was in if you know anything about Lou Pearlman, he was in a Lou Pearlman band.
Interesting.
And Lou Pearlman, he's most known for one of the largest kind of Ponzi schemes in America. And he was like a master manipulator, and, you know, anyways, he created a whole music scene in order to prop up his like, like make a facade. But anyway, so Michael was he was in this whole whirlwind ever since he was 16, and
so he was a part of that whole Ponzi scheme kind of thing.
He wasn't a part of the illegal activities. He was in a band.
What was the whole scheme? I'm just not as caught up to date with it. Like
Lou Pearlman founded like NSYNC.
Yeah, he's a huge producer, right? Like music producer.
He's not a music producer. He was like a business guy.
Okay.
And so he would do. He had a bunch of different. Like companies, like he owned airplanes and owned, you know, I don't know every detail, but he had a bunch of businesses, and he would kind of move money around, and then he would, he stole a bunch of retirement money from a bunch of like old people, like trying to invest into things.
Yeah, that's not very cool.
But it was like a lot of money. It was like $500 million. Yeah. And so he would bring these people to the shows where, you know, there would literally be like 5,000-10,000 people at these shows, and he's like, see, this is my like I built these bands. And,
if you have like NSYNC there, that's pretty.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
And so everybody would like, that was part of the smoke and mirrors
show. Okay,
which is interesting.
But was there some truth to like him being a part of like actually creating the success of NSYNC?
He made that entire pop music scene.
Oh, okay.
He created this, even pop music, a lot of it, like the way it works with how they have TV shows and all these things, like the innovations that he has accomplished in order to continue his behind-the-scenes scheme. It's actually incredible.
Really?
You know, like,
so there's some good to it, but it's just that I'm guessing it was just very greedy, and then
he was a bad man. In the things that he did, but he was a genius. So, you know, he did things, but he did like bad things and good things. But he created a lot of things in order to propel
to do the bad
things, which is like, I mean, in history, like in many different situations of like horrible things in history, like even politically or whatever, like whenever there's like really bad things, there's a lot of good things that come from it. I mean, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, you know, dropping atomic bombs, like the largest period of peace followed after, you know, so like that was awful, right? or even like Hitler and the genocide. It's like, yes, obviously awful, but then afterwards there's incredible innovations and technologies and rebuilding of Europe and Germany into a modern society that's like pretty amazing. Like it's amazing. So, anyways, this was another example of something like that where Michael was kind of wrapped up in this when he was a young dude, and so. Even when we were on tour, it was so weird because he would like talk to Lou Pearlman when he was in jail. He would like talk to him on the phone.
Really?
It was kind of crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He was his call?
Yeah, he was close with Lou. But anyways, so Michael joined the band, and it was like a whole big deal because
that gave you a lot of clout, right?
Yeah, he was like really in the music industry. Even like we were kind of like local guys doing music, and then this guy came into our band and was like, oh, like we could do this, this, and this, and it would like push us into.
So what did he do when he joined your band? What was his role?
He's the drummer.
Okay.
So he was playing drums for us. And then I would say his role in general, aside from that, was he was a little older than us. So he was, more experienced and kind of like a bigger bro type figure.
Sure.
And then he was just in this kind of like actor. He had a lot of like famous friends, stuff like that. And
that's gonna be pretty fun as like a young kid, like kind of being a part of that scene, right?
The early 20s for me and the dudes were pretty amazing. We were playing LA, playing a bunch of shows, and then like we were kind of wrapped up in this cool scene of like people, and it was kind of crazy. There was a lot of parties and a lot of funny,
I can imagine,
fun times.
Rock star life, right?
Yeah.
Just a quick side tangent here. I'm originally from Los Angeles County. Like I grew up, I'm born here. Are you the same?
I was born in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. But my parents are from Van Nuys, Arleta.
Wow.
And then they went up there, they had kids, and then they came back down. So I've been here since I was 1, and I was raised in Santa Clarita.
Okay, so basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, my, and my studio is actually, like, next to where my mom's, like, apartment was.
Really?
It's, like,
cool.
So weird.
It's weird, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
It's really cool. It's very interesting. But, yeah, my parents are from here, and they grew up, they worked at a factory and met each other, and then, like, in their early 20s, they got together, and then they went on a ski trip to Idaho and loved it.
And then they're like for like a year?
We're moving. No, they lived up there for 8 years.
Oh, 8 years. Okay.
And at the end, they had kids. They kind of spent their 20s up there.
Time to head back to the coast.
My dad couldn't make any money up there because it was like population 30,000. There was just nothing. He was like, now I got kids. I got to do something. So he came back down in order. We lived in Reseda for a bit, and then we moved to Santa Clarita. And so,
Nice. You're a Valley kid too.
I am.
I'm a Valley kid too.
I'm a suburban kid, and it's cool. Here's why it's cool, and this is kind of crazy because I've toured all around America, right? And people are like, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from LA," and they're like, "Oh, LA sucks," everyone talks shit.
Yes.
Because they're jealous that they're not in LA. They're in some rink-a-dink town, and they like want out pretty much.
Yeah, and they judge more like the people and sometimes the aura of different like collections of people of different like towns. Like I get it, There's different like even here, like I'm very blessed to be in Santa Monica. Yeah. But there's a certain vibe sometimes of pretentiousness and
of course.
And that you're gonna have that. But here's the thing. What are you getting also, like that might be a con, but we actually did a segment called the pros and cons of living in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I'm a mile from the beach. So, how many people get to say that? Like, and not only that, but also like I can drive an hour away and I'm in like the snow when it's like March, like there's so many benefits.
LA, Southern California is incredible. I think that most of the stereotypically like awful things about LA, they're actually from the transplants are doing
probably,
those. Like the locals, people that are from LA, they're actually chill. Rad.
Yeah.
Like everybody's is chill.
Well,
and like
yeah.
So but anyway, so we had this weird perspective growing up because when I was like 15 years old in bands, we would, we would drive into Sunset, we'd play like the Key Club or like the Whiskey or Viper, and then like drive home. So like I grew up being in LA, like kind of.
I remember going to like even like high school, like when I was in high school. And there was like high school bands, they were playing at like the Roxy or something, and going to check them out, and it was, maybe not on like a headliner night, but it was just so cool.
Awesome. You go in,
cool.
You soak up all the cool kind of like nostalgia and history of the 80s and Sunset, and it's just so exciting when you're that young too. And then, we got to leave, and go back to our nice, quiet, suburban town.
You were in Santa Cruz at that time too? Yeah, Santa Cruz is definitely more
it's chill.
Mellow.
It's a breeding zone.
Right? Yeah, it is a little bit of a reading zone.
Yeah. So, in any case, it's a cool perspective because I kind of had this inside and outside perspective of like this thing while growing up, and of course in our early 20s we were like in it. We were more in it. So. But yeah, so, Matt left, Michael was in, and we kind of like really went into this whole scene. We got signed to Hollywood Records, which is a Disney-owned label. And then Kelly also got a big Disney show.
So was that all happening? Was that part of the big package? Like they're like, hey, take this and
kind of. It definitely helped.
Sounds like they had a plan kind of in mind.
It is the Hollywood Records. Our manager at the time, he actually was the one who was responsible for what's her name, Lizzie McGuire.
Oh, okay. The whole thing was everyone was like so into like the Disney actors, like it was. So I can imagine like that kid Kelly and everything you know.
Yeah, I mean the thing is he actually hated it.
Oh really?
I mean. Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. But, yeah, so our manager that we kind of got early on, this is something that Michael kind of opened up some relationships and, like, we got a manager.
You're able to get the manager early on, whereas a lot of people would take a while to potentially get to that level.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little harder. But
was there still some kind of, like, struggle or just, like, Michael was able to just make it happen like that?
I think we were talented enough, and we were like young, good-looking dudes. Like it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. Everything lined up. It wasn't. There wasn't like music was great. Singer was an actor. This manager actually had learned one of the plays out of Lou Pearlman's playbook of like the TV show thing, and that was like where he did the Hillary Duff television show, thing and with Hollywood Records. So he had this whole like kind of system set up.
Okay.
So anyways, we were kind of like put into this situation and to see if it would work. This is around the Jonas Brothers era, like so that was going on the same label. And there was like
that was on Hollywood Records.
Yeah.
They started on Hollywood Records?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So
so you're probably really excited. You're like, man,
it was cool.
You're making it like...
Yeah, but here's the deal, is that like Jeff Paul and I were like real ass stoner dudes.
Okay, yeah.
That were like doing music. And then we had a actor as a singer, and then our drummer was like busy doing all sorts of like things. And so really like Jeff Paul and I were the ones that kind of like would put together the music and like build things and then bring them in and like, like
you guys were the ones doing the work.
Kind of. We were like more the behind the scenes of it, and it really helps to have those. It's not like they didn't contribute. Like those roles are like so important.
Sure.
Like we were just more like writing songs and like kind of trying to build and push on.
Yeah, you guys were more the artists behind the creatives, there always has to be the business side, but you guys were very much more at least more so on the creative side.
Yeah. And our drummer was amazing, and our singer was amazing. Like, he is an incredible singer and performer. Like, how some people just have it?
Yeah.
Like, this dude had it. Like,
okay. Does he still sing?
No. He's an actor. He does acting, and he makes films now. He's like a filmmaker.
Okay. Like director, producer kind of type? Okay.
He's incredibly talented, smart guy. He's an amazing person.
You guys are still friends?
We're not like
Acquaintances?
friends, but like everything's fine.
Okay.
You know, like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
you know, at
sure.
the time it's like so
Yeah,
crazy, and then
probably
like
rough.
later on you're like, well, this is why this needed to happen. You know.
Sure.
But so you know, we got signed. We were doing the label thing.
How many albums did you guys make altogether?
We did a few before the label. Then we got signed. We made a song that got like pretty big on Radio Disney, and then it got like a Super Bowl commercial and
Awesome.
that. And then we went to make a record.
What was the song?
It's called Low Day.
Okay.
Great song. Jeff Paul and I kind of wrote it while roaming around in Santa Clarita, being like smoking weed while driving.
Nice.
And it's on Disney, you know, like it's hilarious.
So funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny, man.
So and then you know
was Disney like you know, because they are so family friendly, was there a sense of like, because that would be my worry, you know, as a kid, and even seeing a little bit of it through other like friends that were like Disney stars, is, you know, was there a sense of like kind of control and hitting a certain image, like feeling the pressure kind of to be that way, or for you guys where you're like just like F it, you know?
We had to change some lyrics on that song in particular. They were retarded changes because it didn't even make sense. And we changed one lyric to Gang of Rouge.
What was the original?
I don't even remember the original. It wasn't even a bad like a bad lyric. It was like, why do you want us to change that one? That's retarded, you know? I mean, whatever. We changed the lyric. It was fine. We were playing ball, you know, like, and you know, there was a lot.
Have to play a little bit of the game.
You do have to, especially in that situation. You know, anyways, so we eventually, you know, started making a record with, you know, a big producer, this guy Matt Wallace, who he's responsible for like Faith No More, songs about Jane, Maroon 5. Like he's a Grammy Award. He's a big producer.
How did that all happen then?
We just asked for. We had like a list of producers that we wanted to do our record, and we just got linked up through a friend, and like, you know, we had a meeting with him, and he was like, sounds great. Like, he wanted to do it, you know, he was excited about it.
Awesome.
Fast forward, now we work right next to him and see him every single day. He's like a mentor of ours, you know.
Very awesome.
So, yeah, during that time, we spent like 2 years making a record. It was like a big record. Probably spent like over $100,000 to make this record, which is that's a big
out of your
budget.
own pocket, or that's
the
like
label.
The label's okay.
Yeah, and we worked at Sound City Studios, which is a famous studio back in the day when it was still like the.
Where's Sound City?
It's in Van Nuys.
Okay.
Right by like Galpin. So we had spent, you know, a bunch of time making this like amazing debut record. We had a song that was doing pretty good.
Is that normal for them to spend $100,000 in putting?
A label, like a bigger label, yeah. That's kind of big producer, big mixer, you know, full studio, like kind of, yeah. I mean, especially this was in a time where that was a little more common.
Sure.
Still a big budget. That was a pretty big budget.
Yeah. Because it seems like nowadays it would be like, that's not a lot of money for them to take kind of a.
It's way less nowadays.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like you don't need to do that. But you know, when you're using top level people, like it just, I mean, you know, it's probably like that in the film or TV world.
Sure,
where
of course.
You use really great people. They're expensive.
Yep.
For a reason.
Absolutely.
You know? So anyways, we do this record. It's amazing. And then our singer, out of the blue, sends us an email that he's leaving the band. It was like this long, super long email. He sent us an email.
An email? But you guys were friends, right? Wouldn't you have like a little conversation?
We're a little bit more than friends. Like when you're in a band,
brothers.
You're brothers.
Then an email seems like a slap in the face.
It was a little jarring for sure, and you know, he was going through a lot of stuff, and
It's understandable, I guess.
It is what it is. Like I wish it went a different way. There was a lot of things said. I think.
I mean, without getting too, you don't have to.
Here's what I think.
Things,
here's what I think happened.
Yeah.
He had a girlfriend that he was really wrapped up. We'll call it a soft Yoko. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Soft Yoko.
It wasn't
That's
a full
amazing.
Yoko. I think he was, you know, he had like.
Was it on its way to a full Yoko?
She wasn't like in the mix or anything with our band, but
Okay.
I think their relationship and whatever was going on, like it was, you know, like Yoko was like, she was like in the session. But like, anyway, so, and then I think on top of that, he he's a very profound person in general.
When you say profound, what do you mean?
Well-read, really deep thinker. You know, like.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I think he just wasn't down for, like the Disney thing. Like he had a show that was like long. You know, it did okay. Like he just didn't. He didn't
fit the vibe of that lifestyle of.
I think he knew that like everything was based on him and not so much us, and he knew. Maybe I'm assuming too much, but like maybe he knew like we deserved to have a little more credit, or you know, or so. And
he kind of felt bad about maybe kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
You never talked to him about it?
I've never had those discussions with him. No, because I mean we're cool. We've like it's all good.
At this point, it's kind of just
it's all good. But you know, I think he felt the weight of, you know, being the front man, being the actor. You know, like there is a thing that happens with singers where they're people look at them. They're looking at them. You know, like when they see a band, they're like, that's the band, that guy, that one guy.
And you know, one thing I was thinking about, you know, this week actually was, you know, there's also, because I was trying to think about this, how it applies to myself, but there's almost like a certain point where, you know, your passion becomes work. Sometimes, you know how that, and I think I could see that as, you know,
this
a
is
kid.
Exactly that case.
Yeah, and because I'm like, you know, you want to pursue your passion, you want to do things that you want, and you want to like make a living doing that. Like, yeah, like I've pretty much always been an entertainment industry guy. I've always, you know, wanted to be in that world. But I think there are times where it does feel like more work, and then there's other times where it feels like more creative. And so it's like finding the balance of that is tough.
It's tricky.
And especially if you lose it, especially if you're like, wow, like I'm loving what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's so much pressure. Now am I doing this, you know, not for me and not to like say something and express myself, but because like my manager or my label is telling me all this.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes, it's tough, like, what do you do in those situations?
Yeah, and then you're young.
And you're young.
At that point, you're like, that's another thing where you're like, well, what do I do? You know?
Yeah. How old are you guys then?
We were in our early 20s.
Okay. Yeah, that's very
so
young.
you're kind of like, you're kind of just down. And you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't really know what's going on. You know. So, anyway, so this kind of like, the four of us got together, and we were like, what the fuck are we gonna do? You know. And we auditioned. We decided we would like.
Did you guys try to talk him out of it, or
I mean,
you just let him go?
He sent us an email. Like, we're not gonna like what.
He just disappeared after that.
He disappeared.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like, pretty much like
that makes sense, I guess, for the email, because you think if he's
You know, so you know, we were like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, we were freaking out. You know, so we had a meeting at Sound City actually. And we were sitting at some table, like it's nighttime. We're like, we're all four of us are like talking about what we should do, you know. And we're like, well, we gotta like keep it going. Let's try to find a singer. Let's try to like, what else are we gonna do, you know? So we started trying to find singers.
Okay. So you guys didn't provide vocals on?
Well, yeah, we wrote. Melodies and stuff, you know, like on the record for sure. Like,
but you didn't sing them?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you needed that lead.
Yeah, we were kind of like, I mean, this was like our singer was very strong.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, we need a fucking singer.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's do this, you know, so.
And you know how like sometimes when something falls apart and you're just like, man, I want to prove everybody like,
I
think that, so let's get somebody better, you know?
Right,
kind of
this
thing,
was
you know?
like, we had to figure it out. This was our first, this was like our first solution, I guess. So we spent about 6 months trying to find a singer.
Oh, wow.
And it was awful. It was like week 1 of American Idol, but in real life.
All the tears and everything.
It's just like, you know, you have these people and you're like, what? Like, this is your life.
You really think you can sing?
Like exactly.
Yeah.
And so it didn't go well. Meanwhile, my partner Jeff, he was like, oh, maybe I'll sing. You know, and we were like, haha, that's funny, Jeff. Like, yeah, we're gonna find a singer, you know. But all along the way, Jeff had been really shaping and writing melodies and really like helping Kelly like figure all this out. You know.
Okay.
So Jeff he's very good with that type of stuff, but he was like a really passive person, like really, like I would never.
He wasn't like a showman.
He wasn't like a, hey, I'm just like, here I am.
Yeah,
like he was like a
personality.
Yeah, he was like
vibe.
Chill, like a little more reserved.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like his
Introverted.
vibe. Yeah, so that was like nobody thought that he could ever or would ever.
Sometimes those are the best people, though.
Yeah. So here's what happened. Jeff was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try. Let's do this. And we were like, okay, like whatever, let's try it. Let's try.
Well.
You know. So we had a few songs laying around that he felt like he could sing, and that we had written that like hadn't been through and like pushed, that we had written without Kelly, or nobody knew about it. And so we were like, all right, well, let's try to play a show. So the four of us, we booked a show at this place called the VU in Santa Clarita, and we played 15 minutes, 3 songs at this like shitty bar. And we invited.
I don't even know where that is, man.
It's in Newhall, and it's not. It's there still.
Like
it's
a
not
dive
called.
bar?
It's It was like a shitty bar, not called the VU anymore, but it's still there. And we played 15 minutes, 3 songs, and we invited a bunch of friends just to see what it was.
Sure.
And everyone had a great time. It worked. Everyone was like, "Yo, that was fun. That was cool. Like, it was cool. It felt good." Afterwards, my parents were out of town. We had a party at my house.
Okay.
And it was a great time.
Yeah.
So then we went into figuring out a new project. We dropped our entire business team. Our label, Hollywood Records, let us out of our deal. We dropped our manager, dropped our business manager, dropped our lawyer. You know, anyways, we dropped everything because we were like, yo, fuck the label.
Yeah.
Fuck all this shit. Like, fuck everybody. Like, we're going to do this ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, you must have been pretty, to have that, motivation, you must have been pretty excited about that little dive bar, you know, performance.
Yeah, it was.
You must have been like, man, this is awesome. There's something here.
Yeah. Our parents were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
They're like, really? Again? You're doing, like, what do you, like, are you crazy?
They gotta be protective, you know.
Right. And so we kind of, the 4 of us were like, all right, let's give ourselves a year. If within a year things are like going great, like things are happening, then we'll keep on, and if not, then we'll let it go.
Traditional route.
Yeah, something like that. And
did you tell your parents that? Was that part of the deal?
Yeah, I think all of us talked about it. It was a thing.
Yeah.
And we recorded an EP. I had gone to engineering and production school.
Okay.
And you know, so I knew how to record and stuff. So my parents went out of town again, or they was something, I don't know the timeline here, but so we recorded drums in my parents' room. We recorded an EP, like ourselves.
Do your parents know you were doing that?
Yeah, they knew.
Oh, okay.
They were cool about it.
Because it seemed like every time they're out of town, like,
yeah, we did shit. Obviously,
going
what do you?
down.
Ever your parents go out of town? What are you not gonna do? Like, come on, you know. But so we started making an EP by ourselves. We started with 5 songs, and we recorded all ourselves and everything. And then we just started. After it finished, director friend of ours, we did a music video for one of the songs, and we started playing a bunch of shows. We played probably within, you know, the first year, we probably played like 45 shows in LA, which is a lot. That's a lot.
How did you guys go about, you know, getting those shows? Did you guys have
just reaching out, like
just
all
individually?
just like anywhere we could find a show.
Your own
We
hustle
played
at
the
that time.
shittiest show.
Yeah.
We played dive bars, friends parties.
It's kind of fun though.
It was great.
It's kind of a fun
And
time
to
of
be
life.
honest, it worked.
Yeah.
You know, so we released this song called "Scare Me." Our friend.
So was this New Beat Fund?
This
at the
is
time?
New Beat Fund now.
'Cause I don't think we've even said that
Yeah.
at the
So
beginning.
this was you're
this
right.
was a new
Great point.
With Disney at Hollywood Records.
That was
Disney,
Capra.
Capra.
We reformed, made a new project that was called New Beat Fund.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, while we were in Capra, we were playing LA a bunch. We played a lot, you know. And
your different stuff outside of the Capra.
No, just Capra. We played a lot of shows
Got
around
it.
with a lot of bands and stuff. And in LA, the music scene at the time was like everybody wore black. Everybody took themselves way too fucking serious.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it didn't feel good. And so New Beat Fund was this like giant fuck you to everything. It was like, fuck you, fuck the label, you know, like, fuck the, it was bright. Like, all the colors were like neon colors. It was fun. It was meant to be like a party, like a good time. Like like all loving, like we're, like, everybody's cool, let's just have a great time type of vibe,
love
you
it.
know? And, yeah, we made a video. Our director friend, Chris Bongiorno, which, dude, now he's doing crazy big stuff. It's insane. But he, you know, within a year, we were being played on K-Rock, and then we had, like, huge A&R people, like, emailing us. And, like, and then...
How did you go from, you know, just playing, like, a lot of places to being on K-Rock? That seems like a decent jump.
I mean, there's like, you know, locals only. There's like a kind of like a progression. At that time, there was some radio programs that would like, you know, we had some mentors at the time. Like, here's the thing. Successful people, they have mentors.
Absolutely.
All along the way, you have kind of these people that are like, hey, if you do this, if you hit up my friend and you pay them to do like promotion in this way, like this will help. So, So,
absolutely.
Hollywood Records, by the way, had purchased us a bunch of equipment to like do shows.
Okay.
And I built this whole rig for our band, and then afterward it was like an in-ear rig, and there's like, you know, there's a lot of equipment. And so after we got off, we were like, you know what, let's just do it like raw, like punk rock style. We went a little more like punk rock.
Okay.
And we were like, fuck all that. And I sold all of that equipment to our now good friends. At the time, it was a band called R5.
Okay.
And now they're in a band called Driver Era. But it's the Lynch family is like they're amazing people. But we sold them gear. We used that money to kind of fund the first year of the...
Fund the New Beat Fund?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the New Beat Fund.
That was the New Beat Fund.
Thank you, Hollywood Records.
Yeah, Hollywood Records. Thank you, R5. Like they...
Yeah.
And, you know, they were just starting out. They were kids. Like, and... I spent like a week with them to help them, you know, learn the equipment and hang. And they were like kids, and it was cool. They were rad, and they're still rad, and we're still friends. We hang out. We work on their music projects. They're doing great music projects. They're Ross Lynch he was the singer of that band. And he's like an actor. He's like a pretty big actor guy.
Oh, okay.
But they're all pretty famous. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, wow.
So,
and they're all using your equipment.
Well, not anymore. They're far beyond. Like they're like they're just fine.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way. But you know, at the time it was cool. We made some friends, and you know, we started doing our thing. They were fans. We were kind of like their big bros in a way. You know?
Okay.
So anyways, yeah, we started playing out, generating this kind of buzz and all this stuff through all the things that we were doing.
It seemed like that was like those 46 shows or whatnot was really crucial.
Honestly, the shows help a lot. Really word of mouth and playing. Yeah, totally. That on top of like a music video, an EP, photos, graphics, like. Here's the thing, and this goes into the marketing and everything. Like when you put together a package, like a full package, where everything makes sense, and if you like,
aligned,
like one portion of it, if you were to see just that one thing, it would match all of the other things. You know, like you hear the song or you see a picture of us, like
it's consistent across.
Everything's consistent. You know, like, and that's kind of the key. One of the keys to building a successful project. You know, it's like.
Do you think though, you know, I mean, that's not like, you know, somebody, obviously I know it kind of goes into like TV and film, but somebody who's kind of outside the music industry, it sounds like a lot. It sounds like, oh, okay, we have to get our, you know, music, we have to find the graphics guy, we have to find like a specific person who's going to promote us. Is it a lot? Like how does somebody go about?
It is a lot.
How does somebody go about like starting out? Putting that together.
It is a ton of work.
Yeah.
It's actually incredible because people don't really realize how much work it is. I mean,
they probably don't want to do it. A lot of, you know, musicians probably don't want to do it either.
The modern day, okay, at that time, like Jeff, our singer, had gone to Cal Arts. He was a graphic artist. He did like you know, we all did everything ourselves. It was a DIY project. And that was something about this whole thing that was like, we were like, yo, we don't need anyone. The label, like, what the fuck?
But you guys were willing to, like, that's the thing. A lot of people would be like, no, I'm the lead singer. I'm not doing the you know. You guys were down to get to hustle and get into like the nitty gritty and just get it done at a high level. Yeah.
When we were signed to Hollywood Records, that was essentially like our college.
Okay.
Now we had been to college and I've done technical school, whatever, you know, but like really that was like the like real life college.
Yeah.
We worked with songwriters and producers, and we worked with all these people and learned all these things because, you know, in the pop world, which is kind of where Hollywood lives, it's like, oh, well, here, go work with this person, they're a name, and that person. We would like show up to these sessions and trying to build our project, you know. Meanwhile, we were all kind of like, this feels weird. Like, this person is we're writing a song with them. Like, we can write our own songs.
Yeah.
You know, like Low Day, for example, was a song that we wrote that like got on the radio and did great. You know. So we were like, why do we have to do all this? It's so weird. You know, we show up to these mansions where these people had hits, and then like it would be like, we need to write a song with this person to see what, you know, and like it was great because you learn things, you know, and we learned how to be great songwriters, how to produce records, and you know, Matt Wallace, this guy Tommy Hendrickson, which he's in a band called Hollywood Vampires, like these
Is that with Johnny Depp?
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. But this was before Hollywood Vampires, you know? And,
Interesting.
And he, like, these people kind of helped shape who we are and give us the confidence and
you were kind of able to see how they do it, so you could kind of be like, okay, at least we see how they do it, so what works, but also like, maybe what can we do differently? What can
how do we make it our own?
Exactly.
And the thing is, that's only one portion of the whole puzzle, you know, like you gotta make great videos, you gotta have great photographs, you gotta have good contacts to try to get some things going, and then you gotta have like, you gotta play great shows, you gotta like, you know, have fans, you gotta manage fans, you gotta like, whatever, it's endless. There's a million things you gotta do.
Well, just a quick question on top of that is, you know, because there's so many different things you have to do. For a new artist who say they have their band together, they have music, like what is like that, what would you say is like that first thing? Because there's so much. Where do they start? Like, what's the first thing they do? Is there something that they can kind of just start with?
You're talking about like artistically or business or like marketing wise?
You know, any of the, but like a band that's together that is ready to you know, to start, I guess more on the like promotion, marketing, like making it professional. Like they have their band together, they have music. You know, what is like the like what's a good where's a good place to start? What's a good thing to do next? Yeah,
well, for one, I would recommend just honesty in the art. Having something that is truly authentically you, that is easy to portray and to uphold. You know, musically, in the message of the music and the image and everything, like something that's like that you live, that is you know, is like a good thing to do because
authenticity.
I think the general public or the audience, like they're smart. They can sense when something is bullshit.
Absolutely. That's about my girlfriend.
And they know when something's, you know, like not, pretty much.
No, absolutely.
So, aside from that, I would say kind of just having everything.
Yeah, what about more on the business or marketing side?
On the marketing side, I would say having everything like together, like aligned, like the look of the band, what they wear, matching the music. When they hear the music and they see the guys, they're like, yup, that makes sense. When they see the video, they're like, oh, this is like perfect. You know, the photo, like just kind of like the merch, the graphics, like that's like the good place to start.
So keeping the marketing consistent.
Cohesive. Yeah. And aligned like vision of all those things, I think is a good place to start.
Okay.
Now getting there, I would say you know, I think Picasso has a quote, something, I don't know the exact quote, but it's like, if you steal from one person, you're a plagiarist. If you steal from 5 people, you're a genius.
Sure, yeah, that sounds about right.
So I would say you deep dive in and learn as much as you can about a bunch of artists that
See
you
what
love.
works for each person.
Yeah,
and kind
you
of
steal.
make it your own.
You steal from 1 million people, because that's.
Yeah, they've done it.
That's how Homo sapiens work. This is monkey see, monkey do. This is who we are. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, this is just what it is. So you deep dive. You become an encyclopedia of music, and you love this from this artist, and that from that artist, and that from that artist, and you kind of start to cherry pick all of these things that work. You know, you learn about their road to success, what worked for them, you know, of modern artists and past artists, and their live show. You do this with the live show. You do this with the records. You do this with writing. You do this with the look, you know, the fashion of your band and all these things. And you start to put it all together, you know. Other than that, it's just being really active. Like getting out there, playing shows, being on, like nowadays it's online. Like I think when we were doing our thing, Instagram was just starting. So it was like our agent at the time, we had a meeting with them, and they were like, hey, you guys should get this thing called Instagram. One of our artists, Snoop Dogg, just invested in it.
Oh, with Snoop Dogg?
And it's like, you know, like, and so we left the meeting, we're like, let's get Instagram. Like, iPhones were brand new.
That's funny. Well, you're on the ground floor, I guess that's good.
I mean, yeah, we used Instagram. That was kind of like our social media that really helped us get going. So, you know, we worked Instagram, we did the things, and, you know, now it's a whole other level. Now it's a whole different thing. But yeah, just being passionate, living it, doing it. The thing is, when things are going great, like now especially with the way the internet works and the tools that are online, you can do a lot of this without anybody independently. And if you get far independently, all of the business people will come find you.
Sure.
So I would recommend not seeking out business people and perfecting your project and kind of connecting with your fans, with potential fans.
Sure, and just kind of building your own audience.
Yes.
So that, you know, you kind of build your own thing, and then they see it.
They'll find you.
Yeah, exactly. If you have an audience.
If you have an audience,
they're going to get you.
There will be some business people that will be just hitting you up, you know?
Yep.
And that's the thing, is the
I mean, that's the whole, like, I don't know if you're familiar too much with, like, the TikTok scene now. Because, you know, I've slowly been learning that, and I've slowly been seeing, like, at first I just kind of wrote it off, as a lot of people have. It's like, this is just kind of a joke. And now I kind of see the use of it, and I see, like, how it's such a good platform for building an audience and having depending what your brand is. And you know, I heard that, you know, like Saddle Ranch now in Hollywood, it used to be like a rock star spot, and now it's a TikTok spot, where TikTok people like hang out, and you go you hobnob with like the huge like TikTok stars, and I'm just like, that's so bizarre, but you know, it's a different world now. You know, it's a different
still
world.
sunset.
But it's interesting because, yeah, you have these people on TikTok who have like 40 million followers, and that is a massive audience.
It's a big audience.
People are seeking those people out. They have, you know, have movies and other music deals.
Yeah. I mean, it is complex these days because there's an algorithm, and there's like this whole, there's kind of like a new dimension to all of this. And, you know, if it goes, it goes. And the thing is, you can go without any, like, you can get it to go without
having any, like, outside help.
Yeah. Now, it's not to say, like, there's a bad way or a right way or a wrong way.
Yeah, can you still do it traditionally?
I think you can, yeah. Like, we work with artists that still do it traditionally, and they're building, you know. And the thing is, there's a different type of career. There's kind of like, you can notch your career up like this, or you can shoot up like this, and then you gotta like scramble the
little roller coaster
figure it out. Like, can you, or you don't fit, you know, like there's different ways to do it.
Okay. Do you think one's better than the other right now? Like for 2021, do you think there's a better way? Like, what would you recommend if somebody is saying, like, would you recommend they go like the more traditional, like find the agency or manager, or build the audience first? Like, is there a better?
I would recommend building the audience first.
Yeah, I think I'm
more vaguely. I would recommend the more authenticity sort of path and the long build path. I just kind of where I come from, my beliefs, even my career path. Like, we have had these opportunities, they didn't work, and then we'd start over and we build up. And now, nowadays...
But you were always authentic to like who you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nowadays, after so many years of building, the amount of experience and contacts and all these things, like, and we still haven't even like hit to where we're like massive, but like the amount of...
But you guys have had some big success. Like
we have.
Like your no type covers. I actually, before I met you, I heard that cover. I'm like, man, this is a fucking awesome song. Like, I love this no type. This no type cover is better than the original.
Right.
That's what I thought.
That's what everybody
That's what a lot of people think. And so, like, I knew that was a big success. But and then I know, which maybe we can get into a little later too, is I know you toured with Blink-182.
Right.
Which is
we've toured with
absolutely.
We've lived the dream.
Yeah, well, maybe let's talk about a little bit about that, because I think that's really interesting. Is you had kind of built your own audience, you'd done a lot of local, and now you had kind of been attracting the attention of different people.
We had kind of just pushed everything away, and we're like, we're doing it our way, and we kind of started building all these things through our own like power, and we had, sure enough, we had a bunch of people approaching us for all the things that were happening, and we had like A&R people hitting us up and labels, and eventually we got offered record deals. We got offered multiple record deals.
How did you think? Because like you guys were coming from a place where you're like, fuck the label, F the labels, and now like we're doing our own thing, but
here's the thing: when you're in a band, you have it's a group decision. It's like so this is all based on like everybody kind of we were a traditional band where it wasn't like one person was the dude who made all the calls. This was like by committee,
Okay.
And we got offered deals, and which was fantastic. We got offered a deal by this label in San Francisco. They flew us out, like took us out to dinner, courted us, did the whole thing. It was like amazing, Then we got offered a deal by this label called Red Bull Records here in LA.
Is that a part of the Red Bull?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's
do they still do music?
Yeah, they still have a label.
They do. Interesting.
Yeah. It's a part of the parent brand. It's like an offshoot. It's a separate company, but it is Red Bull brand. Or Red Bull Records. That's what
Red Bull Records. Okay, that makes
So we got offered deals, and we were like trying to figure out what to do. So this is even before we had a manager for this band.
Okay.
So we get a manager through an agent friend of ours. This manager in particular had extreme success before, so he was kind of like a big dog manager.
Okay.
And we went with it.
How did you feel about that though? Because did you feel like you wanted that big dog? Like
we met with a lot of managers.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, so we got offered, we kind of started getting offered deals, and we were like, whoa, we can't do anything until we have a manager, because a manager can handle all this. Like that's what their job is kind of. So we got a manager. We interviewed a bunch of managers, and we talked to a bunch of people, like small managers, old managers, big managers, small managers, and eventually we went with this kind of duo, Rick DeVoe and Chris Georgian, and they were super excited guys, and there was a macro and a micro manager, so there was like kind of cool. Like a older big dog and then like a upcoming dude, and they were like, they were exciting, passionate, they were like in this like kind of SoCal scene. It really worked, and so we went with them, and then eventually we weighed the two labels, and we eventually went with there was the courting process. The Red Bull court, the Red Bull. This is worth noting. The Red Bull courting was like, we went to like, what's the sushi place on
Nobu?
No, it's in Katsuya.
Oh, I just wanted to.
Yeah,
on
Katsuya.
Brentwood?
No, in
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
The Hollywood one. Yeah, the Hollywood one.
So we had this like big night where we went to Katsuya, and then we went to There was a club in the Roosevelt, and there was like.
Oh, the Tropicana?
This was before the Tropicana. It was
the one in the actual like lobby
It was like
area?
a carny, like I forgot what it was called, but it was wild. There was like midgets carrying bottles flying through the air, it was fucking crazy.
What did you think about it?
It was like a whole we had just party nights, and like the Red Bull Records, their credit card is different, you know, like
they just put
different.
They
like,
put their little black card in there, and it's
So
game
it was
on.
like they had. Anyway, so there was the courting process. Okay. Which and at the time, the team at Red Bull was like amazing. They were so cool, and we really felt connected to them. And we eventually went also with kind of the potential or like the endless ceiling.
Like where can they go?
If something happens, then there's like gonna be support from Red Bull because there's kind of an endless amount of money and support, you know, or whatever. So we went with Red Bull.
Oh, you did?
We got signed.
Oh, okay.
We got the record deal at Red Bull. And so this kind of marked the beginning of our journey in this new version of our band, you know.
So New Beat Fund is under Red Bull Records.
Yeah. So this is about 2000. Well, yeah, this was about 2013.
Okay.
Around that time, and we got signed and started to. They purchased our EP from us.
Okay.
Which we had recorded, and then we started a tour. We went on
Awesome.
Warp Tour. And
How many did you have, like a full album before?
We had 6 songs initially that they purchased, and then we started touring on those 6 songs.
Oh, wow.
And so we went on a bunch of tours. We did Warp Tour. We went out with Blink. We did like 10 shows with Blink. This is when Tom was still there. It was like crazy.
Very cool. Was that just through the label? They hooking you up, or
there's label
or did,
managers,
like, did Blink 182
agents.
have to approve of you guys before?
Of course, this was in that situation. It's very much a team effort. You got everybody trying to do the thing. You know, our management was close with that whole world. You know, the label, the agent, tours come from certain people, like all sorts of people. We toured with Pepper. We toured Dirty Heads. We did Warped Tour twice. We toured with this band called Air. We toured with
How was it touring with Blink 182?
This is an interesting topic you bring up.
I'm very interested.
Because when I was in junior high, Enema of the State came out.
Yeah.
And the entire junior high, like everybody was like a fan. This swept the nation, swept the world. You know, it was like, it was crazy.
Classic.
So, you know, obviously huge fans. Even while I was like learning guitar, I was like learning Blink songs and shit. You know, and then one day I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tour with Blink.
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking crazy.
That is.
And it was kind of like one of those situations where it's like you don't want to meet your heroes. Now, at this time, this was kind of like they broke up.
They were towards the end of
that was the end. That was like this
that group
last
of people. Yeah.
This is like when Tom was still around, and it was like this last, you know, we played a show, and then like we played Riot Fest, and then we played earlier in the day, but they played, and we were like friends with their roadies because we were on this like run with them, and so I was on stage. There was 40,000 people in Chicago at Riot Fest, and it was like wild. So they played this huge show. Everybody's like going crazy. You know, and then like Tom leaves and goes and like gets in a helicopter and like fucking flies away. You know
what?
And then like
just because he had a prior commitment, or
no, just because like it's just rock star shit.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, I'm out. Like I don't want to be here. You're like, I'm out. You know, and then you know, Travis goes, you know, gets into his black car and bounces because he's got a gig later on, and like, you know, it's just that like. And then Mark's on stage, and he's like, kind of like still like, he just wants to like play more an encore, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
That's funny.
And he's like kind of inciting. There's just crazy moments, you know? But in general, over the course, it was like, they didn't really give a fuck about us.
Yeah.
Nor should they.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like they are, like obviously, you know, an ego is probably built through that career. But at the same time, like they did earn it. I mean, they are there,
it.
so it's like
they earned it. It was
can they be nice? Sure, they could be nice, but they don't have to be.
They don't have to
there's
be
no,
nice.
There's no law in the world that says, okay, yeah, you gotta, you know, they could be. It would
and
be.
we
nice.
talked
Yeah.
to them a little bit, and we were really close with their crew. Their crew was like
Okay.
amazing. Their crew
Okay.
like sets up everything, really runs the show.
Okay.
Those dudes, the first time they like saw each other, pretty much was on stage. You know, and it's just going through that experience, especially like kind of like looking up to this band, and then like seeing kind of how they really are in real life.
Kind of shattered reality.
All of us were like, let's just not end up like that.
Sure.
You know, like, and look, it's easy to say from where I am this whole thing. It's easy to be like, hey, this is like, you know, but in all of the success and the money and all of these, you know, the highest level of the highest of everything.
Yeah.
Like, what goes on and who's who and like how what goes down. Like it's, I don't know. I didn't live that life. I don't know what that is. So, you know, from my perspective, I wish they would have been a little more cool with themselves as like partners, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, they're not playing music now, and
I know. Did they seem like they were even getting along at that time?
no, they weren't at all. I mean, they didn't even not get along because they weren't even like together,
Yeah.
you know?
Interesting.
But it was like big production, like lots of people involved. Like it was wild. It's wild when you get into those levels, how much goes into it and like how many people are involved and stuff. So,
Well, who, you know, kind of piggybacking off of that, you know, were they or who were like the band that you loved touring with the most?
this band Pepper, they're like kind of like a legendary reggae band. They're incredible. They're just the nicest dudes. They're like the party, like they party. It's fun. Their fans are amazing.
Okay.
Like there's so many bands that are great. Dirty Heads were great. I don't know. All along the way, there's been a bunch of bands where you meet that are just incredible. This band, The Movement, they're like a reggae band that's like incredible. Weirdly, we got pushed into.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys aren't really reggae.
We're not really reggae, but we got pushed into this kind of like world.
Kind of that chill surf rock
Yeah.
pop kind of.
And like we would open up for big reggae bands, and like the reggae fans would consider us progressive reggae. That's what they would say. They loved us.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Progressive reggae.
But they'd be like, "Oh,
Did you like that?
I
Being
mean,
called
what?
progressive reggae?
You can't choose your fans.
Okay.
You can't choose your fans. You can't
say
choose what they
no.
say about you.
Like,
Like it's
I'm
just
not
like you're
progressive
just
reggae.
like, cool. I'm happy
Yeah.
you like it. I think
Okay.
like like, but anyway, so we played a lot of festivals. We played with AWOLNATION.
I love them.
We did a show with Nina in Austria. That was she's 99 Red Balloons. 99 on Red
Oh yes.
Balloons. Yeah.
I love that. Man, that would
Yeah.
be like a moment in
She's
time.
like a royalty in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, classic
Yeah.
you know, one of the like all-time classic '80s songs.
Yeah.
How did? I mean, you did a lot of different. Like, how did that all get? Like, was it completely your manager and label at the
It's
time
your
setting
team,
all that up?
your whole
or-
team. When you're in that situation, you have a label, and we had songs being promoted to radio, so we would play like radio festivals with 1975 and like big bands. It's so we would.
But were you having a say, or was it just like, okay, you guys got Nina and go to Austria? Blah,
You have
blah,
a
here's your
you have a
tickets,
manager.
you know?
You have a manager, and the manager works with the label and the agent, and they're trying to put together all the pieces of this puzzle. It's kind of like it becomes like a big business.
Well, they did a really good job.
Yeah,
I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, like you kind of you and us we worked it. We went there every single day, or we would do shows or do radio promo or do whatever. We do anything we can do because we were like, yo, let's get this going.
Yeah.
Like, we're down. Like, awesome, and it was tough. It's hard.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of
a lot
work.
of traveling.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So New Beat Fun, definitely. We toured solid for like 4 or 5 years. We did we did Warped Tour twice and like a bunch of tours in between. We toured 303. And
what's the future for New Beat Fun then? What's like, you know, do you see yourself, I mean, toured the pandemic kind of threw everybody for a loop.
Here's kind of what has happened. So we toured a bunch. We toured on that first EP, then we came back. We had, like, the label got us a house in Topanga twice where we would, like, write music, and then we lived in Venice for a bit. We made a full record, like a big record, and then we toured on that after that. You know, we went out again, did the whole thing, and did radio promo, No Type. That was with the No Type era.
Okay.
And, you know, that was great. And then eventually, you know, it kind of got to us. Not in like a crazy sort of way, but it was like Michael, our drummer, he's a little older. You know, when you're on the road all the time, like 4 or 5 years where we were just kind of circling the country like 8 times, you know, like, and it was kind of like, what are we doing? You know, like we can't, like, if we're on the road, we can't make recordings and then
write music and
and then when you're on the road, you're like, if you make all your money when you're on the road, then you have to tour to make money. So you get trapped. You can kind of get trapped
and kind of needing that
into like touring. You know, so you start to get older, and when you're trying to launch a project and build a band, you have to tour. You got to do all these things. You got to open
That's
up
where the
for
money
all these
is,
bands.
right?
I mean, when you're a big band, not when you're a small band. You know.
Where's the money at when you're a small band?
There is no money when you're.
Oh, there's just no money.
Yeah,
okay.
there really isn't for a long time. Like you know, in the music world, you have the top like 1% makes money, and then the rest kind of don't. You know.
But like, are you getting like you can get by or?
You get by.
Yeah.
I mean, we were on a label, so the label helped us to do all of these things. This is the point of a label. You know, like. You share, you profit share, but they are investing into your project, you know. So, you know, and they're building this thing. They kind of like everybody puts everything together, you know, and so yeah, we did a lot of that, and then eventually we were like, it came around again for the label to kind of like pick us up for another option on our deal. Or we part ways with them.
Okay.
And I think the general consensus between the label and us were like, let's
take a break.
Let's do our own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because you didn't want to go tour like right off the bat again, and you.
Yeah, I mean, it would be they would have to pay us a bunch of money.
Yeah.
To tour again. And keep in mind that at this point, after all of that, the initial team that like signed us had turned over 3 times. Like,
oh wow,
yeah. So like the passion.
Is that normal?
Kind of in the music world,
yeah.
It can be normal for the like the label team, the way that Red Bull Records ran their label, in the turnover of GMs and people and all these, you know, the team turnover. It was kind of crazy. So by the end, it was like these people don't care about us.
Yeah.
The first initial group,
they
really cared. That was like amazing. And
then, it's funny how that things pan out like that sometimes.
And so that's why we were like, we're not gonna get in further with it. Like, there's no point. You know, these people don't. They wanted to sign their own, like whatever team is in place wants to like start their own, find an act and build an act on their own. You know. So. Anyway, so this was about 2018, maybe like late 2017, where we kind of like died down on the touring and stuff. And we made after we kind of left Rebel, we made our own record and put it out, and
just on your own.
Just on our own.
Because now you could kind of do that through.
We could do whatever the fuck we want. You know, like the label. Everybody has to approve. It's like a whole bureaucracy of like people that have to like be okay with it. When you're independent, you're just like, yo, I love this song. You love this song. You love this song? let's fucking put this shit out, you know?
So is a downside, though, that you can't put it out to as huge of an audience when you do it? Or did you feel like at that time you're like, well, we have a pretty good fan base, so we are going to get the same kind of similar audience that we would with having a label?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not as many tools and kind of like bigger push things that happen, but also, yeah, we did have an audience, you know, and so you put it out. Like, we made a bunch of relationships at radio. We had a bunch of people, you know, you kind of do all this legwork, and like, if people like the music, then they like the music, and if they don't, they kind of don't, so. Which
is fine. I mean, that's kind of what the place you want to be. I always say, like, hey, you know, if you put something out, as long as you get it in front of people. If people don't like it, that's like, if I put something out and people don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But at least like getting the opportunity to show it to the audience.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to. That's really the tough thing you have to find.
Yeah.
So you can have that chance.
Yeah. I mean, we still had management, and you know, we kind of had all these kind of systems in place. We just didn't have the label, and we kind of like did our own thing. We did some tours. We had some like people take us out. That were friends of ours that were pretty big artists, you know, and so we would still do some tours towards the end, you know. But, you know, eventually for us, it became like, all right, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
We did the record. Like, what are we going to go tour again? Like, if the situation's right, we'll tour.
Yeah, what's next for New Beat Fund?
Well, at that time, we started doing the fund.
Okay.
And that's
and
kind
when you say that time, what was that time?
This was around 2018. Like,
okay.
We've had our studio now
about 3 years ago?
About 3 years.
Okay.
And we were like, what are we gonna do? We made a record. We made a record at Monkey Mountain.
Oh, really?
Where I was living.
Yeah, John. He was on the show. Earlier.
John's amazing. Jameson's amazing. But yeah, we kind of like did this thing guerrilla style in our bedrooms, like we did in the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
you like that kind of getting back to that kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, we were just like, this is what we do. Like, let's do it. You know, it was tough. It was hard. It was a hard record. All records are hard to make. You know? Especially when you're dealing with your band personalities that have been so much history and things, and you know. So we did that. We put it out, and it was actually really well received. Like, it's doing great.
This was the last one that just came out.
This was we did Chilanthropy Part 1 and then Chilanthropy Part 2, and we made them about the same time when we released them like separately, and then we were like, all right, what are we doing though? What are we doing? You know? And we were like, let's get a studio and let's start. Like, we've always had mentors like ask us for productions, and like we've always been kind of like ghost producing, like adding things to, you know, like doing additional production, all these things. And then our mentors were along the way were like, you guys need to do this. Like, you're so good at it, you know? And so we were like, all right, let's try to figure this out. We go down to Sound City because we had been working out of this complex for like a long time.
Yeah.
We talked to Sandy, the owner, and we're like, hey, like, we need a spot. Like, let's do this. She was like, she doesn't give a fuck.
Oh, really?
Like, pretty much. She doesn't, like, I was like texting her. She wasn't responding. I like go down there and knock on the door. I'm like, hey, like, what? Hey, we're here. Like, show us a spot. Like, we need a spot, you know?
Yeah.
And we had rehearsed out of there. We'd done multiple records out of there. You know, we had worked with friends.
Kind of part of the family.
It was
there.
part. Yeah, it was like they definitely knew. Yeah, they knew us. But this was like, all right, we need
now you need it more
a spot.
Yeah,
like, we had done temporary things, and now we were like, let's do like a real deal. So we started building our studio, you know, and like, and we got a record for this band called Dizzy Spells. We're gonna produce their whole record.
Okay.
And so Jeff, Paul, and Michael kind of went away.
Okay.
He was like doing a film and kind of other projects, and like, you know, he needed to like kind of
something else,
do his thing. Like,
yeah.
But also Michael's been doing this for a long time.
So might have been a little burnt out.
Yeah. So.
So what do? You go there and you like make a deal for like leasing it, or
yeah,
how does that work?
We rented a spot there, and so we rent our studio, and and then we were like, man, we hope that we can pay this rent.
yeah, exactly.
You know, but And
so how do you go about doing that? Is like getting the artists to like...
So ever since we started, it was kind of like a, if you build this, they will come type thing.
Okay.
And ever since we started, we've been busy.
That's awesome.
And we just, I think a lot of the New Beat Fund world and network and all that has we've parlayed that into like people coming to us. And you know, we've lived this whole life where all of the artists that we work with, they're gonna be doing all these things that we've done. So we can kind of share our failures with them.
Sure.
We can tell them, hey, like this works. Or like, hey, you're overreacting about this. You need to like, you need to play a little ball here. Like, you know, like stuff like that. Or like, you know, just kind of more mentoring and you know, and when you help people, you help yourself, you know? So we're helping people write and build recordings and mixing and mastering and doing all these things, and then they go kind of like...
So would you like kind of classify yourself more as a music producer now?
We're music producers. We're like a production trio.
Okay.
And it's called The Fund, and we still have New Beat Fund.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say. Like, is that still...
We still have it.
That's
like,
still current? Like, you're still, you know, thinking about a new album, potentially...
We write music. Like, the beauty of what our situation is, like, if it gets slow on our production stuff, we can be like, oh, we'll just make some of our own music. You know?
Okay, yeah.
But it has not gotten slow.
Okay.
It's actually done the opposite. It's just
picking up.
Oh my God, it's crazy. We're constantly being hit up for projects. And
how many artists do you guys have right now?
In the first...
You've been there for 3 years now?
Been there for 3 years, and we've done about 60 songs a year.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, and it is a lot. Some of it early on was like some of our stuff.
Sure.
But now it's all kind of other people's stuff. We have New Beat Fund music like in the bank. If we want to do a release, we can be like,
can get it ready.
We'll put out a song.
Okay.
You know? But the thing is, when you turn the engine on, you gotta make sure there's gas in the tank. You gotta make sure your tire pressure is good. You gotta make sure your thing's running. You know, so, and for us, it's like we're actually just our bandwidth. We're too busy, like kind of helping other people. So
it seems like you like that too. Like you're happy, you know, with the fund and helping other people. And enjoying that creative process and producing process, where it's, you know, you still like New Beat Fund, you still would love to do songs.
We have fans,
but you like this a little bit more right now.
It is like a new era, a bit of rebirth. It's a bit of, it's amazing. You can we can have roots. We can, you know, because when you're touring around, you miss a lot.
Yeah.
This is like when we do pro and cons of being a musician.
Yeah.
We can talk about it, but like. When you're out on the road, you know, you miss family events. You miss, it's tough to have a girlfriend, you know, like.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of fun things that go along with being on the road.
Of course.
You know, escapism and all these things. Like, but, you know, now we can kind of like start to build something with a little more longevity. At least we are choosing to do that, you know, where we're like, okay, if we we're so good at making recordings. Like, you know, I went to production school in 2007 and like, you know, we've been doing this, we produced our own stuff and like really have been doing our own thing for a long time. And we've obviously had a lot of like great teachers along the way and mentors and stuff. So now it's kind of time to put all the experience and the education and everything all into action to kind of like, you know, make recordings for other people. And they, you know, they're kind of young, amazing talents, and you know they can kind of do their thing and have their run at it, you know. Now, as far as New Beat Fund, like I think at a certain point, us as producers doing really well will help New Beat Fund. We'll be like, oh, well, like we'll go play this festival because we can, you know, like whatever. It'll be a little different. It won't be as like hey. You know, we're really, like, keep in mind between Capra and New Beat Fund, we spent like over 10 years like trying really hard to like launch our music, you know, like to get it out there. And so it feels good to just kind of not do that. To be like, you know what, like, we'll let it simmer, you know, like, and we'll let it chill
Wait
out.
for the opportunity.
Yeah, like sometimes things happen so easily. Like if you kind of like go and get into like artists that like get big or they have hits, a lot of them are kind of just like, yeah, I don't know, it just kind of like blew up.
It just happened,
and it's like
and nobody knows why, right?
Nobody knows why. Like it's just like a song connects. You know? And it's hilarious, and it's also like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious? You know, like we really tried for a long time. Like,
well, like even with like
hard.
the No Type, because that's probably your most played song, right? It's a No Type
it's our
cover.
biggest song. Yeah.
So like even with that, did you know like off the top, like, man, this is it. This is our our biggest
Funny
song.
story about No Type. Story time again. We had done a full record on Red Bull Records. We had recorded, mixed, mastered everything. It was done. We spent a long time on this thing. Big producer, big mixer, the whole thing. And the label was like dragging their feet, releasing this thing. We're like, dude, it's done. Let's go. Like, what's happening? Like, release it. And we had gotten back from a tour. I think we were living in Venice, and then we were like, what do we do? Like, what's going on? You know, like, put the thing out.
Like,
Let's
what's the hold
go.
up?
Yeah, like, what's the holdup? Yeah, so we had kind of like, we were kind of
On hold,
and we were like, what is going on? You know? And so Jeff Paul and I, we had just done this frat tour. We went out and played a bunch of frat shows.
that was fun.
Oh my God. Like, we're in our like mid to late 20s, and we're around all these like it was very primal.
I can imagine.
It was wild. We would play these crazy frat parties. We did this tour all up and down California, and we came back down. The frat party run, during that time, the song No Type, or the Rae Sremmurd version of it, was like going off. We loved it. We were like, dude, this shit is fucking, these kids love this song. We love this song. This shit is awesome, you know? And we had like got back, the record wasn't like, labels dragging their feet. So we, just for fun, Jeff Paul and I were like in Paul's bedroom, and we like made No Type.
Wow.
And then we were like, fuck it, let's just put it out. Like, and we just,
without even the label knowing or
without
anything?
even knowing.
Really?
We put it out on SoundCloud.
Oh my God.
We put it out on SoundCloud. I texted one of my friends who's like he's a big fan, but he's also like kind of famous. And we were just texting that night. I was like, oh, we just put out a song. You should check it out. He posted it. And
can you say the person who
his name is Riker Lynch.
Okay.
He's like of our 5 family, like, you know, that vibe. And he has a project now called Riker Lynch and the Beachcombers.
Okay.
Or Riker and the Beachcombers. But
so he posted on like a social media?
He posted on his social media. And overnight, it got 10,000 plays on SoundCloud.
Oh, wow.
And it was like kind of just blowing up, like on its own. The label calls us the next day.
Because they're like, what is
fucking pissed.
I can imagine, yeah.
They were like, we can make you guys disappear like blood. They were fucking pissed.
They didn't like that you got success on your own there?
They were hurt that they weren't a part of it.
Yeah,
you know,
I guess that's kind of understandable.
It is super understandable, and it's all good. But at the same time, they were so mad, and they were like fucking pissed at us. We're like, dude, like nothing's going on. We're like, we're waiting for some shit to go down. Like, what do you? They weren't a part of it. They were hurt. They hated that we did it. Let's fast forward a year. They spend a bunch of money to promote it at radio. You know, like they literally like it was big
for them,
And so we added it on to the record, and it became, you know, a focus track. And people just love it. I don't know, like, and it's so funny, but like, you know, a song will raise its own hand in a way. And so when it happens like that on a small level, it's like, oh shit, people are like, it's so weird too. We'll put out songs, and sometimes our friends will hit us up and be like, yo, that song is sick, dude. Like, whoa, like that's crazy. You know, like out of the blue, you're like, why is this person texting me? You know, like, you know, like,
that's funny.
And that was No Type. A lot of that shit happened, and then and it just kind of connected and worked. And the song raises its hand. It's like, hey, I'm the song.
This is the song.
We're doing it, you know.
And it kind of helps build everything. I mean, that's what's kind of cool about those kind of songs is it kind of helps build everything else up. All the other work you did, they're like, okay, well, it's going to drive attention to the other songs too. Yeah. Because now people are like, oh, okay, well, who are these guys that did this song? And now they go check out your other stuff. So
Yeah. So, you know, no type. That was like a bit of a blunder.
That's pretty cool. Well, one question I was going to ask you before I forget is, you know, because I deal with like a lot of actors and stuff, and there's kind of differing views on like once you're done like doing, like once you're done filming your show, like some big time actors don't ever even watch what they worked in. When you do like music, after you're completely done, like obviously you're listening to your music to perfect it.
Yeah.
But after you're done, do you listen to like your New Beat Funds? Like is that normal?
Yeah. I personally love it. I mean, why wouldn't you listen to the music that you make? Because if you're making something that you really like, and if you're making something that you want to make, then you just like, you obviously like it.
You enjoy your music.
You know, like, I mean, now, do I listen to New Beat Fun stuff all the time?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Cool.
Like, I've heard it like a lot. When I hear it now, it's actually cool because at the time, or like early on when you listen to it, you're like, oh, I hate that this turned out like this or whatever. You're like more perfectionist mode. And now I'm like, yo, that shit's crazy good. Like, damn, like it's cool. And it reminds me, it's nostalgia. I have memories, and like it's deeper, you know, than just some normal person. When I hear it, I hear like a time period or the recording process or a tour or whatever. Like, you know, like I like kind of repeat life.
Kind of music in general too. Like a lot of like songs, you know, like a song from like 10 years ago, you hear it again. I'm like, man, it's not even. Sometimes it's not about the song's good, but it's sometimes more about like what that song represents to your life at the time.
Totally.
And that's what makes it really kind of connect still.
Yeah, I mean, music is awful in that way, where if you like you
Could
share
be good or bad.
you share a song with like a girl you love, and
Sure.
then like she breaks your heart, and then you hear this song and you're like,
It's still stuck. It's still stuck with her.
You're like, get that thing out of here, man. Like, Jesus. Like, music is powerful.
Absolutely. What would you say like for, you know, young musicians in 2021, like who are just starting out? Like what advice, is there some advice you would give to them? Some like, you know, just kind of tips in this time period in starting out to try to become a musician?
Yeah, I would say get good at a craft. You know, if you're a singer, get good at that. If you're playing guitar, get great at that. If you're gonna write songs, get good at writing songs. You know, you know, the process is a long process. It's not just it doesn't just happen. Like this day and age, everything's so quick and so like, you know, but it actually takes a long time to build and to do something correctly and to have patience and to stick to your true self. Like, I think that's a big deal. You know?
Everyone wants, this is what I tell everyone, is like everybody wants their dream handed to them. Like, it's your dream. It's your number one thing that you're like dreaming of, and you think somebody's just gonna hand it to you. And how that's not the case.
That's not the case. No, that's a good point. Yeah, like it is. And you feel like that, you know, even I'm guilty, we're guilty of that. Like when we were younger, you know, or like on label, like we had plenty of things that we did wrong. Like plenty, like relationships that we should have handled differently, situations that we should have handled differently. And this is why it's cool to be in the position that I am now, to be able to help younger artists, like hopefully not make the same mistakes. Not that even we are failures, because we're not, but like there was plenty of things that like maybe we could have done differently, or like reflecting back and like being like, oh, if maybe we would have gone with a different label, or you know, like whatever.
Sure,
like,
sure. Like
in hindsight, the hindsight is always 20/20. You know, so
exactly. But at the same time, those failures that you did have, you learn a lot. Like, it's better to take those chances, and at least you guys took the chances and made decisions. Like, a lot of people are stuck in this other of like being in like idle almost, where it's like they're not even getting the chance to find out if it's a failure or a
That's
success.
a great point. That is a great point. We lived the life. Like, we fully took advantage of it and lived it up, and it was fun. We had a lot of fun, and we like made amazing relationships, had amazing times, and yes, we lived and died by our like whatever we were feeling at the time collectively, you know, as a band. And sometimes that was great, sometimes that was awful, And you know, now like kind of like looking back on everything, we could be like, oh, okay, like, you know, man, we should have done that differently, or like, you know. But in a way now it's like, it's cool because we can, you know, from our kind of like building, we kind of develop artists. You know, it's like a lot of what we do is therapy. Like artists come in. I mean, art in general, like it's based on feelings.
Sure. And
it's based on like somebody coming in and be like, I want to say this thing, and like, you know, so they got to work through all this shit, like all this stuff, you know, in order.
Find like the best way to express it.
Yeah, I mean, even just like your defense mechanisms and all these like things in order to even to be able to do this, and we're the ones that help them be able to do that, you know, or to like find a way to eloquently say what is happening. You know? Whether it be in lyrics or in song, or like the way the song feels, you know, stuff like that. So
very cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's high level, profound therapy. You know.
Do you feel like you got like sometimes like, you know, even when you're teaching, you kind of are almost learning as well?
Of course.
So you're probably learning.
We are always learning.
Yeah.
Like. Always, till the end, you learn. Like, and
it's a good mentality to have, because a lot of people think like, you know, I got there, I don't need it. It's
no. It's not like that at all. Like,
you know,
between Jeff Paul and I, we have our own version, where we are constantly sharing things and trying to be better at our craft of like, whether it be songwriting, producing, mixing, mastering, like whatever, performing. We play on everything, you know, like. Whatever it is, we are trying to better ourselves. And then on top of that, with all the situations that we're dealing with business-wise, or with the artist, after we have a long session with an artist or whatever, we work with someone, we're like, the three of us talk, we're like, hey, like what happened? Could we have done that? You know, we try to better, you know, always learning. Like, it's never not going to be a thing, you know. That's just, I think if everybody should have that.
That's a good, I mean, yeah, that's a good mentality to have. I mean, I hope to keep that mentality of just like striving for knowledge, striving to get better. Because I feel like when you're not doing that and you get complacent, that's when you start to backslide or go downhill.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you can get a lot of success and you're like, hey, I have it. What do I need to learn anything for? I'm here. Totally. You know? But there's always somebody ready to come and step over you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a younger generation that will come and quick, they'll take over, you know, like, and it's cool. That's how it should work. But along the way, you know, humility and just like good work ethic and just being cool. Like, we're kind of the real, like Jeff Paul and I, the way we run it is we're kind of like cool and real and nice and like.
Yeah, you guys all, like when I first met you guys had a really like positive vibe, good energy about you. You know, you didn't have that like, you know, typical kind of like rock star ego. You know, very down to earth kind of person.
We try to provide like a safe place for people to come in and make music. You know, it's like you know, just being able to like relax and be themselves. You know.
Very cool. Well, one thing I like to ask people is, you know, you're 35 now, right?
I'm almost 35.
Almost 35. When's the birthday?
In August.
In August. Oh, it's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Any big plans for that, or?
No.
Okay. That's, you know, the birthdays kind of become to mean less as they,
I don't know.
as they go on. But no. So like, you know, the Shelby of now. What would the Shelby of now? And this doesn't have to relate necessarily to music. It can relate to anything or life. What would the Shelby of now tell the Shelby of yesteryear? What advice would the Shelby of now give to like the Shelby of like 20 years ago, like the 15-year-old young Shelby starting out?
That's a good question. You know, maybe just like, you're good. You know, like just I think when you're younger, you're very like, I don't know, like it's a little more self-conscious, or like you're not sure, you're unsure, you're worried about other people's shit, like,
or their opinions about
their opinions, like, and just do you, just do like that, whatever that is, that's actually what makes you special. whatever you're thinking is wrong with you, or whatever you're worried about or insecure about, like that's actually what is special. Like just run with that. Like that makes up you, you know, like the imperfections and all that, that's actually the failures and all the little bad things, like those are the things that actually like that's what specialness is, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So maybe just be cool with everything that you think may be bad, okay. Like, or wrong.
Yeah.
You know? Like maybe a little more like push security on my younger self.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Fantastic. Well, thanks again for coming on the Elevated Look Show. I think it's been a great conversation. We can move on to the other side. But yeah, thank you again, Shelby, for being on here.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. There's lots more content coming your way, so make sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes delivered directly to you.